Welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Pages podcast. It's really true what they say. The right book can change everything.
It really can.
And the book we're diving into today, well, it has the potential to transform the way you think about, thinking itself.
I like that.
So we're talking about Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die by Chip and Dan Heath.
It's a classic for a reason.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think we've all had that experience. You hear a brilliant idea, it's like a light bulb moment, but then poof, it vanishes just as quickly as it appeared.
Oh, all the time.
But then there are those other ideas. Maybe they're not as flashy, not as complex, but they stick. They spread, they take root.
Right, right. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What gives those ideas their staying power?
And that's precisely what the Heath brothers set out to explore in this book. It's not about luck. It's not about magic. It's about understanding the principles of stickiness and how we can apply them to our own ideas.
Yeah, and they make a really compelling case that stickiness isn't some innate talent. It's a skill that can be learned.
So first things first, what exactly makes an idea sticky?
Well, think about that urban legend, the one about the kidney heist.
Oh, gosh.
Gruesome, right? But it sticks with you.
It does.
And why is that? Because it hits on several of the elements of stickiness. It's understandable, it's unexpected, it's concrete, and it definitely evokes a strong emotional response.
And of course, it's a story, which we'll see is a powerful tool in and of itself.
Right. Now think about anti-smoking campaigns. Remember the one Think, Don't Smoke?
Yeah.
It was everywhere. But did it really have the same impact as, say, the Truth campaign?
I don't think so. Why is that?
The Truth campaign went beyond just presenting facts. They used real people's stories, they made it relatable, and those personal experiences, those faces and voices, had a real emotional impact.
It's like seeing those real stories just bypasses our logical defenses, and you just feel the message, not just think about it.
Exactly. The Heath brothers argue it's not enough just to present information. You've got to connect with people on an emotional level, their values, their identities.
And that's where their successes framework comes in, right? 6 key principles that, when combined, make an idea truly memorable and persuasive.
Yeah. So we've got simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and of course, stories.
Okay, let's break those down one by one. First up, simple.
Hmm.
What does it mean to make an idea simple?
It's all about finding the core of your message, like stripping it down to its absolute essence. Think Southwest Airlines.
Okay.
Their core message, the low-fare airline.
Right.
Not a low-fare airline, but the low-fare airline. And that simple statement, well, it guides everything they do.
Really? Everything?
They even decided not to offer chicken salad, not because it was unpopular, but because it would add complexity and cost, which goes against their core message of being the low-fare airline.
Wow. So by simplifying their message, they're actually making better decisions.
Exactly. And think about it. How many times have you gotten a long, rambling email and you're left thinking, what was the point?
Oh, all the time.
Finding the core of that message would have made it so much clearer.
It's amazing how much clarity you can achieve by just, focusing on that one key takeaway.
Exactly. So whether you're writing an email or giving a presentation, ask yourself, what's the one thing I want people to remember?
That's a great point. So finding that core message is like setting the foundation for a sticky idea.
Right. And once you've got that solid foundation, well, then you can start building on it with the other principles. And that brings us to unexpected.
Ooh, unexpected. I like this. So this is about grabbing people's attention.
It is. But it's not about being gimmicky or, shocking for the sake of it. It's about breaking people's expectations in a way that makes them think, make them really pay attention.
Okay, so how do you create that kind of meaningful surprise?
Remember that ad that seemed like it was for the Enclave minivan?
Oh, yeah, with the family.
It looked like they were about to be in this horrific accident, grabbed your attention.
Oh, yeah, I thought this is going to be awesome.
But then it turns out to be an ad for the Ad Council encouraging seatbelt use.
Such a twist.
Yeah, and that unexpected twist made the message so much more impactful because it caught us off guard. We were expecting one thing, but we got something totally different.
So it's not just about being random. It's about connecting that surprise back to the core message.
Exactly.
Right.
Think about that flight attendant who used humor to make safety announcements more engaging.
Yeah.
Unexpected, but it also got people to actually listen to the information.
And probably made her job more fun, too. It's a great example of how you can be creative, playful even, but still convey a serious message.
Right. The unexpected shouldn't just be for shock value, it should ultimately make your message more memorable and more impactful.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got simple and unexpected. What's next?
Next up is concrete. And this one's all about making your ideas tangible, easy to grasp.
Okay, so concrete. This one seems pretty straightforward. It's about using language that's specific, tangible, easy to grasp, right?
Exactly. Concrete language helps people visualize and remember information. Instead of abstract terms, use specific details, examples. Paint a picture with words.
So instead of saying, we need to improve customer service, you might say, imagine picking up the phone and being greeted by a friendly voice who knows your name and order history.
Perfect example. The book talks about how the Nature Conservancy, they used to talk about saving acreage. Worthy goal, but it's kind of abstract. So they shifted to talking about preserving specific landscapes.
Ah, so a mountain range with its unique wildlife.
Right, you give people something concrete to latch onto, something they can visualize and even connect with emotionally.
And speaking of emotional connections, is that where emotional comes in?
Yes, facts and logic are important, but they don't always persuade people. To truly make an idea stick, you got to connect on an emotional level.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you make people care about your idea?
Well, the book talks about this thing called the curse of knowledge.
Okay.
We often assume others care about the same things we do, but, that's not always the case.
Right.
We get caught up in the technical details or the logic of our argument, but we forget to connect on a human level.
It's like when you're trying to explain something to someone
Yeah.
and you just assume they have the same background knowledge as you.
Yeah, exactly. We need to step outside of our own heads for a minute and think about what will resonate with our audience. What will really connect with them on an emotional level.
So how do we do that? How do we tap into those emotions?
One powerful way is through storytelling. Remember that example about those charitable appeals?
Yes.
People are much more likely to donate when they hear a story about a single child in need
All right.
than when they see statistics about, millions of hungry children.
That's the identifiable victim effect, right? It's crazy how much more powerful a story can be than a bunch of numbers, even if those numbers represent a much larger problem. Why do you think that is? Why are stories so effective at tapping into our emotions?
Because stories let us experience something, not just think about it. You put yourself in the shoes of the characters, you feel their joy, their pain, and through that, we develop empathy, understanding.
So instead of just presenting a problem, you're inviting people to feel the problem.
Exactly. It's about making people care. And when people care, they're much more likely to take action. It's not just about tugging at the heartstrings. It's about connecting with people's values, their identities, what matters to them.
Absolutely. So we've covered simple, unexpected, concrete, and emotional. What's the next principle that helps make an idea stick? It's like we're building this recipe, right? For this truly memorable idea. We've got the core message, the element of surprise, those concrete details, and now we're tapping into those emotions. So what's the next ingredient that we need to add to really make it stick?
Well, I think it's credibility, because even the most compelling idea, if people don't believe it, it just won't stick.
That's true. You could have the most amazing story, but if it sounds too good to be true, people are going to tune out.
Right, exactly. And there are a few different ways that you can build credibility into your idea. One way is to tap into external credibility, like citing experts. Like 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste.
Or even like
Yeah.
the opposite, right? Like using an anti-authority. So someone whose experience kind of goes against the grain, but that can be powerful too.
Oh, absolutely. The book gives a great example of this. The scientists who proved that bacteria cause ulcers,
Yeah.
they were met with so much skepticism from, the medical establishment at the time. So what did they do? They drank a petri dish full of bacteria
Oh my gosh.
to prove their point.
Wow. Talk about putting your research where your mouth is, literally.
Right. But credibility doesn't always have to be so dramatic. Sometimes it's about using vivid details, statistics, examples that resonate with people, right?
Things that connect with their own experience.
And then there's the Sinatra test too, right?
Ah, yes. The
Yeah.
Sinatra test. If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. Right.
Yeah.
It's about, finding those examples that demonstrate your capability
Yeah.
in a way that no statistic ever could.
Right. Like the example in the book with Safe Express,
Oh, yeah.
the Indian logistics company. They didn't just say, we deliver on time. They highlighted that they were entrusted with delivering both Harry Potter books, right, when they were released, and important exam papers.
Huge responsibility.
So it's like, if they can handle those high-stakes deliveries, they can handle anything, right?
That's a great example of the Sinatra test,
Yeah.
It just tells the audience, trust us, we're the real deal.
So we've got external credibility, we've got internal credibility, we've got the Sinatra test. It feels like a lot of different flavors of credibility here.
There are, right. And the key is to choose the approach that best suits your message and your audience. And sometimes it's about combining those different approaches too, like the Don't Mess with Texas campaign.
Oh, good one.
Right. They use these tough-talking Texan celebrities to lend credibility to the message, but also tapped into that audience's sense of identity and state pride.
Absolutely. Made it personal, relatable.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, and emotional.
Mhm.
What's that final principle that helps those ideas stick?
It is, of course, stories. And this one, I think, might be the most powerful of them all.
Oh, I love a good story. Why are they so effective at making those ideas stick, though?
Because stories, they do more than just convey information. They allow us to simulate those experiences in our minds. We put ourselves in the shoes of the characters, we feel their emotions, and we learn from their actions.
It's like this mental shortcut, right, to understanding a concept or a situation.
Yeah, exactly. The story does the heavy lifting for us.
Right. And stories can be used for so many things. To inspire, to teach, to persuade, to connect. I mean, the book gives that example of Jared from Subway. Right. The guy who lost a ton of weight by eating Subway sandwiches.
Right, right.
It became this symbol for Subway's healthy eating message.
Became the message.
It did. It resonated with people in a way no ad campaign could.
It was a real-life transformation. People connect with that. It made people believe, well, if Jared can do it, maybe I can too.
And stories are really effective for problem solving, too.
Yeah.
Remember that Xerox copy repair story?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? A technician, he shared a story about this misleading error code that was causing him all this trouble.
Yeah.
It sounds like, just a boring work anecdote, but
Right. But that story helped other technicians avoid making that same mistake.
yeah.
It probably got their attention way more than some dry technical manual.
So it's like having a mentor in your pocket,
Yeah.
sharing their wisdom through stories.
Hmm.
And speaking of sharing wisdom, the book also talks about how the World Bank used storytelling to promote knowledge management, right, within their organization.
Yes. They shared the story of a health worker in Zambia. She found this critical information on the CDC website. And it wasn't just about the technology, it was about the human impact, of connecting people with information they needed.
And that story, right, sparked this whole movement within the World Bank to prioritize knowledge sharing and collaboration.
Exactly. That's the power of stories. Inspire action, change behavior, even transform organizations.
Wow. So there you have it. This is CCS framework. Simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and stories. It's a powerful toolkit for anyone, really, who wants to communicate more effectively.
It is. And what's great is, you don't need to be a marketing guru or a professional speaker to use these principles.
It's not about manipulation.
No.
It's about clarity, connection.
Exactly. It's about taking the time to understand your audience, craft your message with intention, and use those 6 principles to bring your ideas to life.
And the cool thing is, you don't have to use all 6 at once. Even just incorporating 1 or 2 can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Start small, experiment. See what works best for you and your message.
Like you're trying to convince a friend
Yep.
to watch your favorite movie. Instead of just listing all the reasons why it's great, you could tell them a story about how it made you feel.
Right.
Right. Or how it changed your perspective on something.
Yeah, that personal touch, that emotional connection.
Yeah.
It's all the difference.
It's like you're inviting them to experience that movie through your eyes.
Exactly. And that's what the Sexy S framework is all about. It's about finding those creative ways to make your ideas resonate with people.
So to our listener out there, we encourage you to think about an idea that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
It could be a big idea, it could be something small, but it's something you want to share with the world.
Think about it.
And take a moment to consider the Sexy S framework. How can you make your idea simple? How can you make it unexpected? How can you make it come alive with those concrete details? How can you make it credible, emotional? And most importantly, how can you tell a story that will make it stick?
Because your ideas matter.
Yeah.
And by using the tools in Made to Stick, you can make sure they get heard, remembered, and acted upon.
So go out there and make your ideas stick.
Absolutely.
And join us next time for another deep dive into a world-changing book. Until then, happy reading. It's not about manipulation. It's about clarity, right?
Yeah.
It's about making that connection.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about understanding your audience, taking the time to really craft that message, and then using those 6 principles, those simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and those stories to bring those ideas to life.
And it's great. You don't have to use all 6 at once.
No, not at all.
Just incorporating 1 or 2 can make a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. Just start small. Experiment, see what works best for you and that message that you're trying to share.
Yeah, like you're trying to convince a friend to watch your favorite movie. Instead of just like listing all the reasons why it's so great,
Yeah.
what if you told them a story? Like about how it made you feel
Yeah. Yeah.
or how it changed your perspective on something.
That personal touch, right. That connection, that's huge.
It is. It's like you're inviting them to experience the movie through your eyes.
Exactly. And that's what this whole 6ES framework is about, right? Finding those creative ways to make your ideas resonate.
So to our listener out there, we really encourage you to think about an idea that you're passionate about.
Yeah. Something you want to share.
It could be a big idea, a small idea, but it's something you want to share with the world.
Think about it.
Take a moment. Consider the 6ES framework. How can you make your idea simple? How can you make it unexpected? How can you bring it to life with those concrete details, make it credible, emotional, and most importantly, how can you tell a story that's really going to stick?
Yeah. Because your ideas matter.
They do.
And using those tools from Made to Stick, well, that can help you make sure that they get heard, remembered and acted upon.
So go out there, make your idea stick.
Make them stick.
And join us next time for another deep dive into a world-changing book.
Okay.
Until then, happy reading.